Today I want to talk to you about a hormone called IGF-1, and I want to show you its connection to your lifespan and also your health span. IGF-1 is like insulin. It's very similar in structure to insulin, and it plays a significant role in our growth when we're young. So kids need IGF-1 because it helps them grow into adults. In adults, it's a building hormone. So having high levels for adults is not as advantageous and may have some problems, including premature death. So there's lots of medical papers out there now that connect excessively high IGF-1 levels to health problems for adults: accelerated aging, premature death, and cancer. Insulin-like growth factor appears to be associated with a number of different cancers. Now, it's supposed to be in your body because it helps cells develop and grow normally. But when it gets dysregulated, as in when it is too high, it can be connected with cancers. Circulating levels are significantly controlled by one thing in your diet, and that is your protein intake, especially animal protein. Now, animal protein is biologically complete, which means it has all of the essential amino acids, and because of that, it can trigger the excess production of IGF-1. Now, this is significant. I want you to hear this. Plant protein does not do the same thing. One other thing I'll mention here is that high glycemic refined carbohydrates, junk food, sweets, can also raise IGF-1, but the most significant factor is animal protein in the diet. Low protein intake is associated with reduced cancer, reduced mortality, and reduced IGF-1, especially this animal protein. So here's the pathway, and I want to focus on one thing. Excessive protein, animal protein, leads to increased IGF-1, which leads to the mTOR pathway and unhealthy aging. What they found is that the more protein people take in, the higher levels of IGF-1, which is not what we want. And high meat intake is the main culprit, and it's not just connected with increased cancer, it's also connected with heart disease, diabetes, and many more health problems. They looked at protein intake and death in this 18-year study of 50 to 65-year-olds, and they found that those with high protein diets had increased mortality, 400% more cancer, but look at this, the associations were abolished if proteins were plant-derived. So animal protein caused these problems, the plant proteins did not cause the problems. And we know from studies that there's less cancer among vegetarians. So how about centenarians? We're looking at people that live to be 100. And what do you think they found with their IGF-1 levels? They maintained relatively low levels throughout their life. But as with all things, balance is the key. When you get to be an older person and you let your protein intake go too low, then IGF-1 decreases and you get frailty and disease. So what are the levels of IGF-1 right now in America? There's a study of middle-aged men, and they found that Caucasians, African American, and Asians all were over 200. And the Caucasians had the highest IGF-1. If you want to know where it should be, there's kind of a sweet spot in the middle. We don't want it too high, we don't want it too low. Below 125 appears to be a very good level. Below 150 should be even more protective. But if you're getting down below 80, then you're not getting enough IGF-1 and you'll end up with problems, and that tends to be more as people get older. So here's some key points I want you to remember. The amount of animal products consumed by most Americans drives IGF-1 into the danger zone. That's above 200. And when you're there, you increase your cancer risk and you will shorten your life. By restricting animal proteins to a significant degree during your adult life, but not letting it get too low, will keep your IGF levels in the ideal spot so you can have ideal health and live a long time. So if you want longevity to prolong your lifespan and your health span throughout life, I want to encourage you to keep your IGF levels relatively low. Once you get in the 80s, make sure it's not running too low. Make sure you're getting enough protein to keep it up. And pay attention to your diet. Balance is the key. On the 7 Systems Plan, we teach the ideal balance for all of the macronutrients, but in general, if you want to live longer and prevent cancer, I want to encourage you to eat less animal protein. And I want you to choose the animal protein wisely. There's healthier choices with animal protein. And in general, use more plant protein.